Today on the channel, my dad is back again as we're doing another round of questions as it's the Q&A video, part 2. Welcome everyone, Kyle here, back once again with a special guest.
Tom Peterson again, once again.
My daddy is joining us for another round of question and answers today. Yes, the old-fashioned Q&A. We had a lot of questions, and I figured we'd break it into 2 videos, and that's exactly what we did here. So this is Q&A part 2. Of course, I asked anybody have questions for my dad or myself, and we put it on the YouTube community page, SirPaul64 on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson, and we got some good questions in here. We've been going through them in part 1. Now we're going to do it again in part 2. So, Dad, you got your thinking cap on, I see.
I'm buckled up.
He is. He's buckled up, ready to go, ready to answer some questions. So, let's kick it off here, and this one comes from Johnny Utah. This comes from the Patreon page, of course. Patreon, you can get this video, tons of other videos on the channel, much sooner, weeks, sometimes months. I think as of filming right now, I got about 20 videos on Patreon that have not went to YouTube. So there's a lot of content, a lot of bonus content on there. There's stuff to keep you busy for days. I got a lot to talk about, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's a lot of videos.
Did I always talk a lot as a little kid? How about that question?
It hasn't changed.
I was a very talkative guy.
Same.
And it's helped me in my sales profession, in my sales world.
And we always knew what was on your mind and what you were doing.
I was always quick to say, did I ever hold it a secret if I wanted a figure or a toy?
No. I don't remember secrets about anything. You said exactly what you were thinking.
And you know, it's funny when you're a little kid, you think you're so smart, but I see it with my kids now. And Elle, my daughter, oldest daughter, she's a lot like me and does a lot of the patented tricks I used to pull as a kid. And she'll ask the same question over and over, and it's like, hell, I know what you're talking about. I remember, and I probably did the same thing. And I remember as a kid, I said, okay, how can I weave? I want this Ultimate Warrior figure. How can I weave this into the conversation? I'd try to shoehorn it into about every conversation we could do until I'd get my way. Boy, Dad, doesn't dinner sound good? We're eating at the dinner. Oh, I just love dinner. But you know what else I love? Ultimate Warrior, Hasbro, and I believe you've told the story too. When I was a kid, I used to pound my head on the ground.
I remember that. That was like 2 years old.
I don't remember this at all. I think brain damage. But wouldn't I just pound my head until I got my way?
Yeah, that was the terrible twos.
Yeah, never give up. Never give up. If you want something bad enough, you keep fighting. You keep clawing. You try to get it. If you got to bang your head on a concrete floor until you get your way, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
It's emphasis. Yeah.
I guess so. So Johnny Utah from the Patreon, like I said, good brother on Patreon here. Did your father and you collect like Kyle and you? Obviously times are different, but I feel like collecting has been around forever. So this goes back to Grandpa Peterson for me, obviously your dad.
Right.
Did you guys collect together? Did he have collections when you were a kid, I guess? Do you remember him collecting things?
No, he didn't collect anything. Of course, you have to remember, he was a child of the Depression. He grew up when people didn't have, 2 nickels to rub together, and then later an 18-year-old in the middle of World War II in the Pacific. So harder times, and people didn't collect as many things back then. And it really started collecting models and helping me when I was in kindergarten, first grade on up, and on into the Universal Monsters. So, we did a lot of things together, but...
He didn't have any.
It was harder times, and collections were kind of a luxury.
And he was probably, as a kid, working on the farm, doing that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what he... But it's funny as you think about that, no collection, but in his retirement years, he's had some collections. Now, you go to him, and Grandpa was a fabulous golfer. Fabulous golfer. He would golf until, how old was he? Like 90? Yeah, golf till he was 90. And you go into his basement, and every country club or golf course, he's got a pencil. And then a woodworker and stuff.
Right.
So he's got a pencil from every golf course he's ever been to, and then golf ball collection.
Right. He does have that. That's true.
I'm trying to think what else.
And he's quite an artist, and he makes plaques, and he's done that of every professional sports team. So he's got a number of those things.
A master woodworker.
And some plaques that signify 3 hole-in-ones.
Yeah, 3 hole-in-ones. That's not many people have done that for sure. No. You're still trying to get your first.
Yes, I am. I've been 6 inches about 12 times.
I was at a work golf outing once, and one of the guys hit a hole-in-one right in front of me. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked.
Well, it's something you may or may not want to do, because you have to buy drinks for the club.
That's exactly what happened. But he got a nice plaque from the golf course, I remember. But yeah, Grandpa didn't really collect stuff, but a master woodworker. Did you ever think about being into woodworking?
I just didn't have that aptitude.
You cut your finger off and said, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah. But no, it's fascinating. People that can do it.
All right, next question comes from Jeff Wheat. He's got a Man-at-Arms right there. Man-at-Arms, a favorite of ours, of course. Favorite He-Man Masters of the Universe, of course. Kyle, knowing your history with G.I. Joe and the Flag, of course you know that, Star Wars and other toy lines, I'd like to hear your dad's thoughts on the toys he got you as a kid. What were his impressions of them at the time? Did you find them interesting? Did you find them to be good quality toys? And how do they compare to the toys from his childhood? Well, I guess we've got a lot of questions here, so we'll start there. So, knowing my history with toys, what did you think about the ones I got as a kid? What were your impressions of them at the time?
Well, compared to the toys that were made in my day, they were just fabulous. I just thought the detail and the intricacy and all that, and all the figures and all. Of course, they were all based on movies or shows, and that really wasn't done in my day too much.
Yep.
But it was nice to ride along and look at it because they were excellent products.
Probably your least favorite part, I'm going to say right now on all these old toys, was probably putting the stickers on.
The stickers are...
That is one thing we talk about when we unbox these on the channel. I remember back to being just sticker sheets for everything, and now everything's kind of painted on or already on there, and I'm very thankful for that because that takes forever.
Sticker sheets came with G.I. Joe mainly, and when you get military vehicles, they have 1,000 of them.
Yep.
There's no doubt.
Yep. So don't miss that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, what did you think of the prices on toys at the time? I gotta believe it's kind of similar to now. It feels like everything's expensive.
Yeah,
I probably felt that way.
I didn't think it was, it does seem like it is today. They didn't seem like they were totally too expensive. I think they were mass-produced, and there are a lot of them out there.
But like a $4.99 G.I. Joe toy was kind of like a $20 toy today, probably.
Probably, yeah, I would say.
So I don't know. I'm sure people always complain. Everything's so expensive. I'm sure everybody complains, no matter what year you're in.
True.
I'm sure. And then let's see, what were the prices reasonable? What do you think? What did he think of your passion for the toys? And what are his thoughts on your collection hobby today? Now be nice.
Well, as a parent, it just makes you want to help and be involved because, when kids enjoy things that much and it's good activity, it's clean fun, you try and promote those kind of things because there's so many other worse things you could be doing. So
like drugs.
So, you encouraged that and you just enjoyed it. And like I've always said, you took such good care of all your stuff.
Yeah.
It was all mint all the time and played with very carefully. So, you try and support people that enjoy things like that and take good care of things.
And I look at it too. I'm sure, obviously back then you had a lot of work to do, papers, studying, stuff to do. It was a lot easier to give Kyle a $10 G.I. Joe vehicle as a babysitter so you could get your work done too. Because hey, Kyle will be down, he'll be paying attention to that. So that was good. But what are your thoughts on the collection today? Would you say it's the best collection you've seen all week?
I would, and I'd say it's beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah.
It's really expanded, and it's got good graphics and good dioramas and things that we would have never thought of back in those days.
It's like what my dream would be. I'd always dream. I remember when we were moving when I was a kid, and there was a house that we went to look at, not far from. It's off of Ashworth. I just remember it being for sale, and I remember we went down there. And I remember the carpet in the basement was all blue. And I remember having the G.I. Joe flag. Dad, we got to get this house. It's got blue carpet. I could put the flag down there. It'll look like water. And I remember as a kid really wanting to do stuff like I do now. And a lot of friends have told me, Kyle, you did what every kid said they would do when you were a kid, but you did it when you actually went and did it. And that's what I did. And but I remember really wanting dioramas, really wanting world scenes and stuff like that, which just wasn't available at the time, or your imagination wasn't good enough, or they didn't make the stuff. And I just remember really wanting that as a kid. And I'd use my imagination to pretend, but I just always wanted to relive what I saw in cartoons.
A lot of possibilities today.
So when I move to another house, are you going to help me move all this?
Boy, this is going to be too much for 2 men in a truck.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
I think you need 12 men and a semi.
I don't know what I would do if I have to move. I just don't know. And I've had some work opportunities come up where, hey, Kyle, we need you to move to San Antonio or wherever. And I can't wrap my head around it. And I've designed this house around this collection. So the housing market is challenging as it is right now. It would be hard to find a house that fits this perfectly. That's the thing I'm concerned
True.
of, and at my own detriment. And now let's just pretend you're a therapist here and just play along. Because in my head, I think it's keeping myself from getting promoted even more and moving up into other things. It probably is because I'm using this as a crutch.
Well,
Could be.
you could
Call
turn
the
it into a
psychiatrist.
neighborhood museum, move out.
There you go.
We could take tickets here while you move to a different house.
There you go.
And we'll send you a check every month.
There you go. There you go. But at the same time, I say I don't want to be. I don't have a second of free time now, so I can imagine if I had more responsibility, I don't know what something would have to give. So I don't know. That's a story for another day. But the questions continue, and this one from Mario Colini: does your love of pizza come from your dad? Was he the pizza king before you? If so, what is his go-to toppings? I wouldn't say you were I'm a much bigger pizza guy than you, but you do love a good pizza.
Yeah, there certainly weren't as many choices
No.
for pizza when I was growing up, and I do recall the first Pizza Hut in our neighborhood is way before you were born. But one topping that fascinated me with that, and I have not had anything like it since, was just a simple shrimp pizza. They had the small cocktail shrimp all over. It was very good.
Great Plains, they still sell that.
Yeah. Other than that, you stuck with the pepperoni and Italian sausage, and there were a lot of little mom and pop pizza places, little Italian corner of the wall places like
Joe Corso's,
Bellucci's Pizza in Boone.
Oh, there you go. Never been there.
Good greasy pizza, and just loved it. But no, that's something that built as you went into the 80s. You started seeing the Domino's and some of the big franchise things.
Yeah.
So.
And Pizza Hut, I believe, started in Wichita, Kansas. So that was in the Midwest. That was kind of pizza as far as chain pizza. Domino's, Little Caesars took a lot longer to get here than those did. And I remember Joe Corso's Pizza, the Tavern, of course, in the Des Moines area as a kid. Those were kind of your go-tos for pizza. Now you can get pizza almost anywhere, but there's something special about those mom and pop pizza places. You just don't have those as much anymore. And when you find them, you got to support them because, but you also like a good humble pie pizza.
Oh,
Yeah, you like
I do
that
like
one.
that.
Mario asks for the same thing. Did you both cheer for the same wrestlers when you were growing up, or have some friendly rivalries in the house? And you weren't the biggest you went along, you took me to the stuff, but you weren't ingrained in it like myself. But I guess in the 80s, I think we all know, but when I was growing up, who were your favorite wrestlers we would see together?
In the 80s, there was a bunch of different ones. Like the Warlord, he was a big, imposing figure. Looking back on it, probably wasn't the most dynamic wrestling figure, but that whole. I like the Undertaker as he was coming up.
See, I didn't like him.
No,
you did because he's a big guy.
He's big, we're about the same size.
You loved that young whippersnapper Coco Beware. You were always beware of him and Frankie.
Loved the parrot on his arm. Yeah, that was.
You actually, didn't you like the Bushwhackers, or was that more of a joke?
I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen.
I remember,
but you're fascinated by them. These two guys coming in, waving, clapping their arms, and whatever they did.
I think you always said, "Move out of the way. I want to see if Butch would lick my head." And you were always hoping Butch and Luke would give you just the lick.
I wasn't hoping that.
But it's funny is, going knowing later, I knew them as the Bushwhackers first, as most people did, and you as well. But they were the sheep herders before, blood and guts, blood every single night, like hardcore wrestlers, just crazy, the Bushwhackers. Yeah. But who else did you like? I'm trying to think. Warlord.
Bushwhackers were.
Bushwhackers.
Yeah.
That's about it. Let's see. Old Danny asks, "What's it feel like having a collector legend as a son?" Oh man. It just feels great, I'm sure.
Yeah, it just puts you just glow every day.
I bet.
Every time you turn on YouTube, you can see a video.
I bet.
Yeah,
I bet you see those retired guys from work. "Oh, what's your son up to?" "Oh, let me tell you this. He's got this collection. He just got the new Marvel Legends set and unboxed it on his YouTube channel." It's not one thing you really brag about, probably. I don't think. Most people don't understand it. You're probably more like, "Oh, he's doing really well in the company he works for. He's moving up." Yeah. You're probably more about that kind of thing than this, which I get it.
And if you said, you're on YouTube to a lot of those folks, they said, "What's that?"
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
How would I find it?
What is that all about? Yeah. What channel is that? Do I get that on cable? All right. Stephen Jones asks, "Does your dad have a similar taste in music as you? If he doesn't, what does he think of Motorhead, Cheap Trick, and your other favorite bands?" So, do you have a similar taste in music as me? I would say that's yes and no.
I would say I have a lot of different lanes of music as I progressed through this life, and you know, it was different back in the 50s and 60s. I like a lot of those old groups, and you know, moved up to all kinds of things from you know, soul music, Wilson Pickett, Otis Redding, to the Allman Brothers, to Leonard Skinner, to the Moody Blues, to King Crimson.
Yeah.
But I think the first actual heavy metal that I ever listened to, I don't know if you even call it that, but I've talked about this before, and that is Quiet Riot.
Oh, yes.
And that was the birth of young Kyle's interest in
Yep.
heavy metal, because I had a tape. It was an interesting song. Come on, hear the noise.
Yep.
And I know you and your sister got into that,
Yep.
and I think the rest is history.
It really is. And that is pretty much the start of my metal. I don't know what year that would have been. 86, 87, maybe.
I would say it would be 89 or 90.
No, it wouldn't have been that late.
Wouldn't it?
No, it had to be before that. 87, 86, I don't know, something
Could
in
be.
there.
It could be.
Yeah, something in there. And yeah, Quiet Riot was the first, and I didn't know it was heavy metal. And it's not even really heavy metal to this. When I think of heavy metal, I don't think Quiet Riot. I think of hair metal, I think of that. But I still love Quiet Riot. Kevin Dubrow, of course. We can't forget him and his beautiful wig that he wore.
Because you just didn't hear any metal on the radio. No. I mean, there were some alternative stations on FM, maybe, that you would hear what we called album music. And you know, the top of the dial did not play much of that. Probably Ozzy Osbourne songs were the first one to make it on, you know, everyday channels.
I always think I was born in 1980, and that is the year of heavy metal. Obviously, heavy metal started in the 70s, Priest, Sabbath, stuff like that. But 1980 was the biggest year for heavy metal. Landmark classic albums from Ozzy, Sabbath, Priest, Maiden, New Wave British Heavy Metal, Motorhead. I mean, that was the year of metal was 1980. And I was born that way, and I think something subconsciously got into me, and I love it. It's a lifestyle. It's not just a music. But
I do like Cheap Trick. You
yes.
mentioned that in the question. I do like that.
So we have similar tastes. As I love the Moody Blues. I love Electric Light Orchestra. So
love
I do
them too. You bet.
Yeah. So some of those guys that you got me into, Quiet Riot and a few others. But Motorhead, I don't know if you don't really like Motorhead. I don't think you really know a whole lot about.
I haven't
Motorhead.
paid a lot of attention. Of course, I know from you. You know Lemmy, and you know Lemmy. You've been on a cruise with him.
Yes, I met Lemmy a few times and miss him every day. It's just life's not the same ever since that just went away. It's like a piece of me is gone. I'd follow the concerts around. I don't know.
Lemmy's quite a legend.
But Cheap Trick, you know, of course, you were from the era of Cheap Trick when they were coming up. Budokan, of course, one of your favorite stops, I think, Budokan back in the day. Beautiful time. But yeah, Cheap Trick, what does he think of Motorhead, Cheap Trick, and your other favorite bands? So I don't know. You, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, probably out of your wheelhouse.
Not listened to a lot of them, no.
You know Breaking the Law, of course.
Sure.
But he knows enough to be dangerous, maybe, on some.
And I was introduced to Breaking the Law by, I think, Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, yes. We used to watch a lot of Beavis and Butthead when they were coming up.
Yeah.
We used to watch that a lot
There
with
you
them.
go.
So there's some. So yeah, but yeah, not for the most part. You're not really a heavy metal guy.
Not really, no.
No. What was the longest you ever had your hair?
Oh, I didn't have as long as you, but you know, back in 1975, it was probably down to here somewhere.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you. And now,
but everyone had long hair in those days.
and you used to always tell me before I had long hair and I had a fish eye, you'd say, "How do you keep employed with this?" So that was different times.
Times changed.
Times change. Yeah. How do you keep employed?
Yeah.
Good brother Mitch here says he loves the videos with you and your dad, wondering what his favorite line he has collected and any good stories of the old Toys R Us days when you guys were on the hunt. So your favorite lines to collect, probably the Aurora models when you were a kid.
True.
Starting lineups. I would think those are your two favorite collections. We've talked about that.
Yep.
But any good stories of on the hunt? Do we have any remembrance of a special time or a crazy one?
Well, you know, the craziest thing you'd see, and I don't think I was this big a fanatic. I'm not going to run down the aisles and chase something down, but
yeah.
I do remember the Matchbox people.
Oh yeah, Hot
They
Wheels
were
and stuff.
crazy.
Yeah.
Hot Wheels, Matchbox. I mean, those people line up at the door, and it would be like a 100-yard dash back there to get those things. And you just, what are they going after? Well, we finally figured out.
And I remember, so this is a totally different time. People don't get this now, because back then stores closed. Everything closed. Now things have changed a little with COVID, but a lot of stuff's open 24 hours or open late. But back in the day, every morning there was a line out front of the stores, and I hated it. You'd pull up 10 minutes before Toys R Us opened. Oh, we're the only ones there. Then people start trickling in. You see a bunch of cars in the parking lot. You're looking around. And you're like, oh no, here we go. And then people a minute before they start getting out and lining up. And then you get to the point where you eye buy them and you say, okay, is that a Hot Wheel guy? Is that a starting lineup
Are they looking
guy?
what I'm looking for?
Yeah, you play the audience, and you were very fortunate because little Kyle had no shame, zero shame. You'd stay in the back, just going back there, and Kyle, it was a mad dash. It was like the runner and shooting off the gun, and it was off. And grown men don't really want to run after a little kid,
but they will.
But they will, and we saw it a few times. But I would do a dead sprint to the starting lineups. I remember just running, and you'd get those old guys kind of fast walking, trying to keep up. And, it was always a fight, but you'd just be strolling in the back because you're not going to look ridiculous. You're not going to run through there. But old Kyle, no shame. I was sprinting towards it. So it was a different time for sure on the hunt. And I remember, I don't remember ever getting any really fights with anybody or stuff, but I remember a couple times people trying to kind of grab stuff from me. I remember the rookie baseball card shop could have been a drug front back in the day. We're not sure, maybe. But I remember the bid board. You remember the bid board? Every Saturday you bid all week, and at 2 it went live. And I remember one time there was a guy that I wanted I wanted a card, and I remember signing my name and all this. And then the guy signed his name and then just blocked me out. And I was like 10 years old, and this guy was like 300 some pounds. And I had to get you to get in there because the guy wouldn't move to let me sign because he wanted to beat this card for a little 10-year-old kid. But nothing too crazy. But back then it was a different time. I mean, like you said, the Hot Wheel people, they'd go sprinting there, and you'd always be like, oh, okay. And then you'd start to know some faces, some people, and then it's just like, what are we doing?
Well, and then I think the word got out through the corporations that some of these people were scalping these toys. And so Toys R Us and a lot of them went to extremes then, and they would just put a couple in the front window.
Yes.
And you'd have to come in and ask to buy those. So there'd be nothing back on the pegs because they're afraid someone would buy. And then they started limiting, and that disappeared. And as popularity kind of waned,
and sometimes they'd have a piece of paper in the window, no new starting lineups or no new whatever in the
Hot Wheels.
What was the lady's name at Toys R Us? Our local Toys R Us lady. Michelle, and she saw a father-son where she'd see all these middle-aged men by themselves and stuff, but then you see me and my dad collecting. I think she said, you know what, these guys are the scalpers, these guys are the annoying people that call us all the time. And she would help us out.
She would always give you tips.
Yeah.
Say, well, wait till come tomorrow.
And she would always give us tips and stuff. So I think, and I would see that too if I'm in retail. This guy's the jerk that runs in here, doesn't buy anything. This is the one. Kyle's getting his wrestling figure. He's getting this, and then I think they understood. They read the room.
They knew we weren't scalpers.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mr. Smith GNR says the legend himself, Don Fry, because you used to look just like Don Fry back in the 80s.
Yeah, I did.
A lot of people would always say, oh my, every day somebody says, Kyle, you look like the Big Show. Kyle, you look like AJ Styles. Kyle, you look like this John guy. Kyle, you look like the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz. Kyle, you look like Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I've heard that a few times. Oh! But you used to look a lot like Magnum P.I., Tom Selleck.
I did.
And Don Fry looks a lot like Tom Selleck. So a lot of people used to always say, oh my gosh, because you had the beard, the mustache. That was the way back then.
Yeah.
So you looked a lot like him. But have you ever listened to Don Fry and Dan Severn's podcast?
I have.
I think so.
Yeah, I have.
And Mr. Smith GNR says, it's awesome, and this country needs more men like them. And I think you would wholeheartedly agree.
They were tough guys.
Tough guys. We need more people like them.
Yeah. Would not fight Don Fry.
No, never would. The Predator. I wouldn't fight him right now, even if I was health issues.
No way.
No way. Does your dad currently collect? If so, what line and line? So in your collection days, obviously starting lineups are gone. Mm-hmm. Now you're more, let's see if I get this right, you're more of a guy, you see something you like, you'll pick it up. So
I would say that's true.
What are some recent pickups you've picked up as of late?
It's more, I would say mine is more Americana. Represent a few figures may represent different segments, different cartoons, like Looney Tunes cartoons, or a lot of things from the 80s, Inspector Gadget, or
Popeye,
the old Popeye
Archie's,
cartoons,
maybe?
Archie's, Dick Tracy, some old things like that. Some old comic book characters.
We need to get him the old 80s, 90s Dick Tracy set. We're looking for that. Get him that one. He wants the blank. That's the hard one. Send that his way. But Hawkman, obviously the NECA Universal Monsters.
Old DC stuff.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. A few wrestlers here and there. The Warlords of the world. A
few popular ones. Goldberg,
Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter like that.
What else you got? You got Bruno Sammartino, Superstar Billy Graham.
Right.
You just dabble. And
just dabbling a few. I have a Ric Flair. A few of those.
And what I think happens too is eventually you sell your collection. You can't have all this and going, and then you marry it down to a couple of miscellaneous shelves. And I think when you're a new collector and a collector on the backside, I think you get down to a miscellaneous shelf. I think there's a charm to a miscellaneous shelf. So we got that going on. What does your dad think of Motorhead, and what's his favorite band? We already talked about that, but what is your favorite band? Gun to your head, what is your favorite of all time?
Boy. I don't know. I would stick with Leonard Skinner probably. They had the most hits in a very short time. As you know, most of their band members died in a plane crash in, I think, 1973. Ronnie Van Zant and they're a good band.
All right, Leonard Skinner it is, and we saw them together one time.
We did.
And then we saw, what was the opening?
Marshall Tucker.
Marshall Tucker, and he threw us his tambourine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Doug Gray, lead singer, Marshall Tucker.
Got one for me. Kyle, what wrestling podcast do you listen to, if any? And Dad, you don't listen to any podcasts, I don't think.
You know, I sampled a few of them.
You sampled a few?
I'm not a regular viewer.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. I listen to the Fully Posable podcast. I listen to, I listen to Arn Anderson's podcast, which is a little bit here and there. I listen to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. I listen to Jeff Jarrett and Conrad. I dabble in some Jericho when he's got some metal guests I like. So there's a few podcasts I listen to. Dad, how much trouble did Kyle get into as a child? This might surprise some people.
Very little. I can't hardly remember
Very little.
anything.
It was very good. I always thought in the back of my head I didn't want to disappoint my grandma, your mom. So I always had that compass in my head. What would Grandma Peterson think of this? And that steered me right. And Grandma was so proud of me. So proud of me. Yeah. She was my biggest fan ever. If she was still alive, she would watch every YouTube. She'd say, Jerry, my grandpa, she'd say, we need to get this internet thing. We need to be able to see Kyle's show every day. That's what she would say.
Well, she was educated on a lot of things. I mean, she knew more about Jose Canseco than probably any grandmother on the planet.
And I would tell her, and she would listen to every story I ever had, would just listen ad nauseum. And she always took my side on anything. If I ever had a story or whatever, she believed 100% of it, never doubted me once.
No.
And I always had a lot of fun time with Grandma. As I used to always bring my wrestlers over, and we would sit down and say, okay, Grandma, what wrestler is allowed to come into your house? And we'd go through one by one. Would you allow this guy in your house? Oh, no. And we always had that. But, I never got in trouble, ever. No. Never. So, this one's for you. What Universal Monster figure do you want to see the most? And what is your least favorite Universal Monster, and which one do you want to see made the most?
You know, my two favorites, based on the two favorite movies, would be Dracula and Frankenstein, the two originals.
And S. Rod has that question: what's your favorite Universal Monster movie? So right there.
And those two would be top. I thought Dracula was very mysterious. You go back to being an 11-year-old kid, seeing that for the first time, and just an excellent movie. Frankenstein was too, but those are my top two. And my least favorite, maybe it's not Universal, would be the Blob.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Let
me find the Blob figure. Where can just buy a bowl of Jello.
Yeah, there you go, bowl of Jello. There you got it. Yeah, the Blob's not good. It was worth watching once, and that was about it. It's not
Steve McQueen was in that movie. The famous Steve McQueen.
Bullet.
Yeah.
Dax Toretto asked the question. I already know the answer. Are you a fan of Bray Wyatt?
Bray Wyatt.
And he says, I don't know who
Bray Wyatt is. I couldn't pick him out of a police lineup.
He is the Fiend. He wrestles now. You wouldn't even know. That's why I knew the answer to this. Okay. You wouldn't know who that is. No. And last question, I think. We got the last one here. And this comes from Mama's Family Fan Club.
Wow.
Now it's funny because I love Mama's Family. I loved Mama's Family.
There's a lot of people?
I bet you there's 1 million people in this fan club. It's one of the all-time great shows of the 80s. I love the 80s shows. Mama's Family was an absolute favorite of mine. I bet you've never seen an episode of Mama's Family.
I can't say that I have. Who was in that?
That was it. Vicki Lawrence.
Oh, I have.
She was like,
Carol Burnett's sister in that sitcom. Okay.
Yeah, but and then it was like kind of her family. And
I do
Mama
remember that.
ruled the roost and everything. I loved Mama's Family. Some people didn't like it. I loved Mama's Family, so I'm all in. But you
like Mr. Belvedere too?
I loved Lynn Belvedere. I loved it. Christopher Hewitt, one of the all-time greats. Yeah. I always wanted my own Mr. Belvedere. I love all those shows. Perfect Strangers, Full House, Webster, Different Strokes, Growing Pains.
You know Barry Williams, the number one Brady
Barry Williams and me are really tight. I did a dance on stage with him back in the day. He wrote a personal picture to me. I still have it framed. Maybe I'll grab that. And number one fan. He told me to keep on trucking, and that's exactly what I've done. Ever since that day, I've kept on trucking.
Yeah. You know, just as an aside, you're the only person I know that has met all his childhood heroes.
Yeah.
People imagine that, or they think they'd like to, or this and that, but you actually have.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about Lemmy earlier.
Yeah.
You played golf with Jose Canseco.
I did, yeah.
And now here's another one that pops up.
And Ken Shamrock, him and I hugged last year at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. What else? Yeah, there's been a
Terry
few.
Funk.
Terry Funk. Yeah, how can I forget him?
Mick
Warrior. Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Now, if I could just meet Boss Rutan, that's the only celebrity I really want to meet is Boss Rutan.
But you know the guys from Cheap Trick, too.
Yeah, met the guys Cheap Trick, yeah, of course. You know, we're just simple Midwestern guys. We got a lot in common.
And what was that other band? Was it Ween, or what band was it? Sounds something
Ween.
like that.
I met them.
Yeah.
I've met a lot.
Okay.
I've met a lot.
Yeah, you're the only guy I know that's
I stumble around. Yeah. So, but Mama's Family Fan Club asks, what's your favorite TV show growing up? What was your favorite show?
You know, if you go back in the early 60s and 50s, that was the era of cowboy sitcoms and what have you. And I remember in the 50s, one thing you'd never miss on Saturday was Gunsmoke with Marshall Matt Dillon. But you progress as a child, and there's one series I think that hit me that I was fascinated with, and it was more toward high school, and that was, of course, Star Trek. The original Star Trek, which I think ran for like 3 years, but
not very long.
We had never seen characters like that, like Mr. Spock and whatnot. I mean, it was always more Flash Gordon-ish type, kind of ridiculous stuff on space type movies. But it, you know, with the era of astronauts and space travel, that was really a fascinating a show that I liked.
Maybe this summer we go to Riverside, Iowa, and we can view the statue of Captain Kirk where he was born, of course.
Really?
Yes. Really? You don't like to journey to that side of the state over by Riverside, though. There's too much Hawkeyes out there for him.
Now does William Shatner know that?
He does. I think he's been there.
Statue?
I think he christened it with a bottle of champagne or something, I think, at one time. But any other later day favorite TV shows? Any favorite TV shows that stick out that you used to watch? I don't remember you watching a lot of TV, a lot of sports, a lot of basketball.
Right.
I don't remember you having a must-see TV show that you had to watch every week. Like a young Kyle who has never missed one episode of Monday Night Raw, going all the way back to primetime wrestling. I stick with things. I never give up. Never give up, even when I should. But yeah. So yeah, anything? No?
No, I mean, there's you get into business type shows and news, world events type shows, and you do that to stay up on what's going on and you know, knowing how to plan and knowing how to look at the future. So that kind of takes over your life in later years, I think, and that got me away from more sitcom type stuff. Plus, it seemed like as I got older, the sitcoms got more ridiculous and unbelievable, and so.
Yeah, that kind of happens. It seems to be like you age out of things that you thought you might have liked back in the day, but now, not so much anymore. All right, last question. This is a fully loaded one. This comes from Morgs Carmen. What other investments are you interested in? We talk collectibles going up in value but need to sell to realize the profit. Anything else outside of putting money into a 401k? So what other investments are you interested in or would you recommend? Real estate, stocks, stuff like that. So this is really more your wheelhouse because you handle all the finances for me. I'm an action figure guy, but I'm not good at my 401k and retirement and health insurance. I mean, that's stuff you just know as a career. So I said, Dad, do what I need to do here. Right. And so I need to learn that stuff one of these days, probably. But you've steered me well. I got my thing from Fidelity yesterday, and I'm well on track, it said. So if you can believe Fidelity, I don't know. Yeah. But any recommendations if people want to retire comfortably?
No, I think you have to pick a low-cost mutual fund. And you have to know that staying in for the long haul, you're going to have about a 9% return on your investment. You know, don't get afraid when times are tough.
That's when the tough get going.
Exactly, and you know, when the stock market goes down, you're buying at a discount. You're buying at the lowest price available, and that'll grow 3 times for you if you just be patient and hang with it. But I'm not into real estate too much. I don't believe in gold, gold and silver, that kind of investment. I would stick with a low-cost mutual fund, one of the best out there, Vanguard, Fidelity. And keep your money there, hold your money there, contribute regularly, and then you can, you know, jump off on your own brokerage accounts And again, I would use the same philosophy. Find a low-cost mutual fund that mirrors the market, and hang with it, be patient, and buy when stocks are low, and you can use that money later when stocks are high. But it's not real fancy, but it's really kind of the advice that Warren Buffett would give you if he were here today.
If he was here, he didn't make it. We invited him, but he didn't answer back. I couldn't believe it.
Watch what Warren's doing, because he's been one of the most successful investors.
I've heard he's the Oracle of Omaha. Is that true?
He is. He still lives there.
He still lives there in a little house on the prairie.
When he's not at Okoboji.
Oh, has he got a house up there
does,
too?
yeah.
Oh boy, my goodness. Well, who thought we'd get some financial tips here today? We might just have a spin-off show for the Patreon channel. Tom's tips of the day: how to save, how to invest.
It's worked well for me.
It has worked well, so hopefully it works well for me. We'll see what happens. I've got a big payday waiting. Hopefully, when I sell all this collection here in like 3 years. Or 30 years. I don't know.
There you go.
Knows? Time, what is it? Who knows?
Go.
We'll figure that out. And that's a video for another day. So that's it. That's the Q&A. Thanks, everybody, for the questions. I think they were fairly easy.
Very nice.
Nothing too
I
hard.
appreciate the contributions.
No stumps, nothing like that. No stumping us on anything. So thanks, everyone, for the Q&A. Maybe we'll do another one in like a year from now. Who knows? Who knows? But in the meantime, leave a comment down below if you have anything else to say. Maybe I can answer the question, or maybe you'll answer it in the comments. Who knows? You never know. You might sneak in with your YouTube channel. Nobody knows. But leave a comment down below. Of course, like this video. Do it for my dad. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the old notification bell. And then, of course, like I always say, link in the description below. Check out the old Patreon where you can get this video, a lot of other videos, weeks, months, who knows, maybe a year with the output I got going on. Tons and tons of extra videos there for you guys. And then, of course, some bonus exclusive stuff like my weekly pizza review.
Oh, quite a deal.
Video pizza review. Oh, boy. Watch out for that one. And the weekly Lemmy photo of the week. Lemmy, a good boy, of course. We all love Lemmy. And you just got recently a new dog.
We do.
We did. You just got a new puppy. How old is she?
She is going to be 11 weeks.
11 weeks. And what was the breed again?
She is what you call a mini golden doodle, 3/4 poodle, 1/4 golden retriever, but looks all golden retriever.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So you got a new puppy at home, though. So
we're going through puppy boot camp.
Yeah.
A lot of sleepless nights.
Yes, exactly. That's busy times. I've been there multiple times.
Yeah.
But that's it. And then social media, SirPaul64. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson, ProWrestlingTees.com. We'll get a shirt for my dad. You got a good idea for a shirt for my dad? We'll get one up there, and you can get all the profits.
And they have to come in tall sizes.
They'd have to come in really tall sizes. So there it is. So anything for you to plug? Nothing?
No, I'm good. I think I enjoyed the questions, and keep on trucking out there.
There you go, Barry Williams style, and we'll see you on the golf course.
Okay.
So until next time, for my dad, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.